Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, October 21st. So today we have the moon in Virgo all day. The Virgo energy is an earth energy ruled over by Mercury, which means that there's a lot of intelligence coming through. There's a lot of mental processing coming through. We have to dive into our mental plane. We have to sort out the details of our lives. We have to analyze the comings and goings of our thoughts, of our emotions, of the situations that are rapidly changing in our realm. We, in the Virgo energy, we want to fix, we want to solve. We want to heal certain situations. And that's why we don't mind diving into the psyche, into the mental plane, in order to figure out where it is that we have some problems that need fixing. Now, the Virgo energy focuses in on the finest details that you could possibly focus on in order to realize that they're all connected, that they all sew together to make up the greater, grander picture. And this energy is an earth energy, so we're low and slow, and we're very stuck in our heads. And with this particular energy, we want to do whatever it is that we can do in order to return ourselves, our lives, back to a state of wholeness. Keep in mind, we're in Libra season, coming to the very, very last days, the final degrees of Libran energy, where we are attempting to get those scales balanced. Between our heart, between our head, between our inner realm, between our outer realm, between the relationship with ourselves and the relationship that we have with other people and the rest of the elements in the world. We want to be very focused on what's going on in our mental plane, what's going on in our physical bodies. There's a special, I'm going to say, filter that we can tap into with this Virgo energy that will illuminate for us where in our physical bodies we're having some ailments, where the energy blockages are, where we have to kind of connect the dots between our physical bodies, our energetic bodies, our emotional bodies, our mental bodies, because of course, all of those parts need to be healthy, need to be balanced in order for us to operate from a whole energy. So there's a lot to go through here. There's a lot to process here. Now, let me just say, there are 9 different aspects here today, and 9 of them involve the moon. That means we're going to have a moon day on Friday that is ruled over by Venus. Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, who is in her place of power in Libran energy right now. This is why we've been having the heart chakra activations that we've been having. If you haven't listened to this week's Ascension forecast, I'm going to recommend you do so, because we need to fine-tune our emotional realm before we go ahead and enter into eclipse season, which is just days away. We're already in the energy. You might feel this already, like we're entering into a wind tunnel. That is the eclipse energy. We're going to try very hard, especially with the moon in Virgo, to return ourselves to a place of stability, of wholeness, even if it's in our emotional realm, so that we can handle some of the situations that are going to be thrown at us to sort us out, to get us on the right path, the right direction that we failed to get ourselves on. Now, may I just remind you, we are in the final days of Libra season, final days of Venus being in her place of power, final days of Saturn being retrograde. The energy is intensifying. It always does before a greater, grander shift taking place. If you haven't listened to October's energy forecast, you should, because we have 3 very powerful transits taking place on the 23rd involving the Sun and Venus moving into Scorpio energy, and Saturn deciding to go direct. It's a big day. It's a big energy. Not even mentioning the fact that in just a couple of days, we will be having our new moon in Scorpio, which just happens to be the eclipse energies. So it's almost a good thing that we have the moon in Virgo, providing us with a little bit of a grounding energy, if you will. We have a lot to process. We will be introverted. I don't see us being as social as a part of us would like us to be, especially in Venus energy, especially Venus being in Libran energy. We want to put ourselves out there. We want to connect with other people. We want to be in love and in love with our lives and in love with the people in it, but we're just not there yet. So we are going to pull back. We are going to move within ourselves. We have a lot to examine and analyze. We have a lot to identify within ourselves that isn't working for us in order to solve it, to heal it, to bring it to some sort of grounded completion point before we move into this brand new season, this brand new direction, this brand new path. So we are going to start the day with the moon making a positive aspect with Mars, who is in Gemini, who is also preparing to go retrograde. Now, this is a positive aspect, which means that we are just swiping through the thoughts, just swiping through the battlefield of the intellect. We have Mars and Gemini energy on that battlefield of the mind. We have this Virgo energy that is very up in the mental plane, with Mercury being its ruler. We are examining our physical realms, where the problems are at, what needs to be cleaned up, what needs to be organized, what needs to be put back into its place. We will have the physical energy, the drive, the passion, the desire in order to jump into cleaning up and tying up the loose ends of our physical realm. We are also highly motivated, highly inspired, hell-bent and damn well and determined that we are not going to kind of fall off the wagon this time, that we're not going to do things half-assed, that we are going to see this project through, these loose ends cleaned up, the clean slate being, available for us to start building upon. And we are kind of getting some pep in our step, motivated. Mars, being the god of war, is already down in order to just boss up. And with this Virgo energy illuminating for us where it is that we do have to kind of be a little bit more disciplined and determined in order to identify the problems and to bust through the challenges and obstacles that we face in order to solve them. This is the jam. This is the vibe that's going to get us through these particular mental blocks and through these physical challenges of cleaning up the mess of the past as we prepare to jump onto the clean slate, the clean foundation of the future that we are about to start building upon. The moon goes ahead and makes a positive aspect with Chiron, who is retrograde in Aries energy, the wounded healer. A positive aspect means that we are leaning into the healing qualities. Virgo energy is a healing energy. The Virgo energy sits across from the Pisces energy in the zodiac wheel. The Virgo energy brings a level of health and wellness and healing and completion and wholeness to the physical body, to the physical realm, while the Piscean energy focuses in on the soul, the spirit realm. Interacting with Chiron in this way means that we've identified some problems. We've identified these negative ass narrative. We've identified where we're being too harsh, too judgmental, too highly critical of ourselves. We are identifying where in our daily habits we are not using our time, our energy, our attention to our best abilities to align with what needs to happen, what needs to be done in the here and now in order to cut the cord with the past and clean up those projects, to have a clean slate, a clean environment in order for us to dive into new elements. So we're making some progress. We're healing some wounds. We're seeing where growth and improvement has already taken place and where there is more room for growth and improvement to actually take over in this particular chapter, to ground us out, to be solid in the here and now, so that when we move into this eclipse portal, we are emotionally going to grasp onto the logic and practicality that we are coming to. We are looking at our lives through a lens of realism instead of fantasy at this point. And this is a celebration point. We've overcome a lot. We have definitely been dealing with some of the heavier, tough love life lessons in a way that, ourselves a year ago wouldn't have been so graciously and easily navigating through. We have to give ourselves credit. The moon does bump into Pluto, though, in a very awkward situation. Not a negative one, just an awkward one. Now, Pluto being the great transformer, He is direct now. He's still in Capricorn energy. There's a huge transformation taking place in our physical realms, in our physical reality. We are kind of stepping back to kind of scope out the damage, the destruction, the death that has taken place within ourselves, within our lives, within our relationships, within our realms of existence. Now, why do we need to do this? Well, because as you may or may not know, Pluto gives us the power of death and destruction and damage and endings and closure in order for there to be a space for us to resurrect ourselves as that beautiful phoenix that, of course, Pluto and Scorpio energy get represented by. We have to kind of take a look at where there is a pile of ash and where it is that there's an opportunity to rebuild something way better, way more beautiful in its place. Pluto inspires us and empowers us through the dark force energies that many of us run from. So we have to sit in the pain. We have to sit in the trauma. We have to sit in the suffering. We have to take a look at the lay of the land now that the damage and destruction has been done in order for us to be inspired and motivated, empowered to step into a place of authority, to take control over the aspects that we have control over in our lives in order to make something good out of the bad that has already taken place. The moon semi-squares, a little bit of a tension point with Venus, who is in Libra. Venus rules over Friday. She's in her place of power on Friday. She's even more in her place of power because she's in Libran energy. And she's nearing the very final degrees of Libran energy because she is going to be on the move into Scorpio waters here in a couple of days. This semi-square is a tension point because we're really having to take a good look at the matter of fact, stance, and environment of where it is that we currently stand in our own self-worth, our own self-confidence, our own self-esteem, where it is that we're currently standing in our personal relationships, in our money matters, in deciding what it is that we actually want, need, and desire, and to discern whether or not we want, need, and desire those things from a place of ego or a place of our higher selves. This is a semi-square. This is a tension point. This is a conflict. The moon in Virgo wants us to get very real, focusing in on the details in order to discern how it is that we are focusing our energy. Again, are we operating from ego or our higher selves? That's first and foremost. Secondly, are we identifying our wants, needs, and desires based off of what we actually want, what our heart space wants, or what we think we are afraid to lose? There is going to be a little bit of a heavier weight that comes in here because we have to see both sides of the coin. We have to act objectively. We have to remove ourselves from the situation, look at our lives as a third-party viewer, and see where it is that, guess what, we're actually not in alignment with our mission, with our purpose, with what it is that's going to better ourselves, because there's a part of us that is so freaking afraid of letting go of some of the things, some of the constructs, some of the people, some of the titles, some of the possessions that we've gotten overly attached to here in this 3D realm, that we're actually blocking our blessings from moving forward. Now, here's the thing. This Virgo energy wants to analyze things right to death. And right now we're analyzing our own self-worth, our relationship with ourself, how that mirrors back to us through the people that we have personal relationships with. We're taking a look at our money matters, seeing the connection of why it is that if we don't feel like we're talented or we have skills or we're worth or deserve the money that we're getting, then why are we complaining that we're broke? Okay. The financial exchange, the currency that runs this 3D realm is equivalent to the energetic realm, where the energetic currency rules our spirit, rules our soul. There's a connection there. If you are having low self-esteem, if you don't feel like you're deserving of happiness, of joy, of safety, of security, of stability, of love, then you're likely going to struggle with money. That's a monetary, energetic currency conflict. And it's definitely going to come up if that's something that's alive and well in your life right now, because this Virgo energy needs to get down to the nitty gritty of why we're in certain situations and why it is that we feel blocked and why it is that we don't feel content in life, so that we can identify it as a problem, come up with a solution in order to resolve it. The moon semi-squares the sun. Keep in mind that Venus and the sun are very close together. They will be entering, they're going to have we'll talk about this here in a little bit more depth here tomorrow's forecast. We're about to have our Venus star point completion. Not that I want to get into it right now, but basically it's a 5-year stage, a 5-year chapter that we are bringing to a close. And it is happening at a 29 degree in Libran energy, which is a super significant position as we prepare for Venus and the Sun to actually enter into Scorpio energy together. That's a whole different vibe, a whole different rant. But just keep in mind that the moon just semi-squared Venus. So it only makes sense that we're about to semi-square the Sun in Libran energy. So what do we get out of this? Well, the moon, again, focusing in on our emotions, on our unconscious self, examining the past, how it is that we got here. The Sun is our life force energy. It's our ego. It's our drive. It's what we have to pour ourselves into. The Sun is in Libran energy. What is our goal? What is our dream and our vision? First of all, to provide ourselves with stability, safety, security, balance, peace, harmony, love, pleasure, joy. That's what we want. That's what our energy is focused on. But our emotions are hooked up on something else, likely what is blocking us from actually doing that. This is a semi-square. This is a tension. This is a conflict. Emotionally speaking, we are in conflict with what it is that we know that we have to do in order to achieve the goals of balance, peace, and harmony that I just rattled off. We are at war. There's a disconnect. And this Virgo energy wants to dive into that, identify where the problem is so that we can come up with a solution. It leaves us in the present moment in order to feel torn into two different directions. It leaves us in this present moment to feel the conflict of recognizing that there are certain parts of us that are deeply, deeply attached to some people, some problems, some aspects of ourselves, of our lives that we know is probably hindering our progress and moving forward and achieving all of those beautiful, lovely things that the sun is shining a bright light on. And for whatever reason, we aren't willing to give them up. So this is where the Virgo energy moves into the psyche and says, okay, what's the problem here? Why am I afraid of losing this? Why am I afraid of moving on? What am I insecure about? What am I having doubts about? Why do I actually feel that I don't deserve these things? We have to do the inner work in order to come to some kind of aha moment, revelation of some kind that will have a ripple effect through our psyche, through our heart space, that will change us. Because once you know, you can't unknow. And then we can start sorting through, because again, Virgo energy wants us to sort things out, to compartmentalize things so that we can tangibly make sense of our inner realm in order to figure out what it is that we need to let go of, what it is we have to put an end to in order to actually move on and have a hope in hell of achieving the peace, the balance, the happiness, the joy, the pleasure that the sun in Libra wants us to achieve. The moon is going to trine, which is a beautiful energy, with the true node. That's our soul's path, our destiny point. It is the path that we need to be on in alignment with our soul's mission, with our soul's purpose. This is a trine, which means it's a good vibe. It's a good energy. We're getting this because the moon in Virgo is in earth energy. The true node is in Taurus. It's in earth energy. We got earth working with earth. We have the intellectual processing and analyzation of our physical realm going on with the Virgo energy versus the plan that we have to really get down to the gritty, that we have to make with logic and practicality on what needs to change in our daily lives. This is Taurus ruled topics and themes. What needs to change in our daily lives? What routines need to change? How does our own self-love, self-worth need to change? How does taking care of ourselves need to change? How does our relationships need to change? How does our money matters need to change? This is where we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. But this is a trine, which means that we're coming up with some kind of evidence, some kind of proof, some kind of aha moment, some kind of profound revelation that is going to say, okay, guess what? I may not have all the answers, but I know how to solve this problem. So let's focus on this. I have a plan for this. This is how we're going to add this strategy to solve this issue, to resolve this problem. We are making some kind of headway. But here's the thing. Every single time that we have an aha moment, that we're enlightened, that there's a new level of awareness, that we're excited, that we're in alignment, that we're inspired, that we are returning ourselves to a state of wholeness and completion, that we're excited, that we're taking one big step forward, what happens? The dark force energies try to pull us on back. The moon in Virgo is about to bump into, in a not so pleasant way, with Chiron, the wounded healer. So what are we about to do? We are about to tap into the shadow realm of this Virgo energy, of this Aries energy that Chiron is currently in. What do we get from this? Well, we just resolved that we know how to identify some of the problems. So then what? Well, then the intensity of what it is that we actually have to do as far as actions in our lives kick in. That's the biggest part. If many of us could just have an aha moment in our inner realms of our mental plane and of our heart space, and then magically not have to do anything, and our exterior realms would just move around and manipulate themselves in order to match what it is that we've arrived at in our inner realm without us doing anything, we would all be very, very happy. Where we fail is when we have to actually walk the walk, talk the talk, take the action, make the move. That's where many of us choke. And right now, the moon interacting with Chiron is choking us. Why? Because we know that in order to align with the mission and the purpose that we know that we want to pursue, that we're going to have to change our routines. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that we're creatures of habit, and it doesn't feel good to bust out of our routines, especially in the Taurus and Virgo energy. We get in a rut in Earth energy. It's hard to change. Okay, so we've recognized that our self-love and our self-worth really isn't where it needs to be in order for us to attract, the right kind of people or opportunities or resources to us. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we got to do some work on ourselves. We got to take action to make time for ourselves. We got to do the deep-seated shadow work that we need to do. Does that feel fun? No. Is that an action that we have to take, that move that we have to make in order to actually make that change and transformation in our physical realm? You best believe it. So we've resolved the fact that, okay, the relationship with myself isn't so good, and maybe it's mirroring back to me through the people that I'm choosing to keep in my life and these relationships that aren't working so well, the parts of myself that I need to heal. Okay, so now I've identified that some relationships in my life aren't the ones that I need to be surrounding myself with. Okay, so I got to get rid of them, or I got to change them, or I got to implement boundaries, or I have to have a conversation. What does that mean? That means that you have to take action in order for those things to happen, and that is where people choke. So the moon interacting with Chiron in this way is basically helping us spiral. Well, geez, I can't take that action. I can't have that conversation. I can't make that move. I can't make this many changes at once. I don't know the routine that I should have. I don't know how to love myself. I don't know how to implement correct boundaries in my relationships. I don't know how to ask for a raise. I don't know how to bust out of a job that I hate. I don't know how to learn the new skills and talents that I need in order to actually bring my dream to life. Okay, so this is where we start to spiral. Now, the moon is going to go ahead and bump into Mercury. Mercury is in Libran energy. Typically speaking, we are highly indecisive, highly unstable. We don't really want to dive into the deep end of our thoughts, of our ideas, of our emotions. We would rather stay in the shallow end. We want to communicate what is, heartfelt and light and fluffy. We want to negotiate. We want to compromise. But in our inner realm, the moon is our heart space. Mercury is our head space. And right now, we are not on the same page. Why? Because our heart knows that we have to take actions that our mental plane isn't ready to put forth in our materialistic realm. And even more than that, there's going to be some information coming in around this point of the day that's really going to cluster F what it is that we thought we had going on within our inner realm. And even more than that, we might be presented with a situation, an opportunity to speak our truth, to speak our piece that doesn't come out the right way. And sure as hell isn't being received the way that we want it to. Why? Because we're looking at life through a filter right now that is filled with negativity, judgment, criticism. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm not able to take that action. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that change. So what happens? We sit in a funk. Now, granted, we're only going to sit in this funk for about an hour and a half because the last aspect of the day is a beautiful one. The moon is going to trine, blend its energies with Uranus, the great awakener, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. We have Virgo energy, Taurus energy. This is a good vibe. What is it doing? Well, Uranus is the higher level octave of our intellect. It's where we connect with divine energies, with higher dimensions, with new knowledge, new vision, new inspiration, new dreams, new goals, new ideas. It opens up our mind. It makes us more easily adaptable to the changes that we have to make. Now, Uranus being retrograde in Taurus, the lesson that we're supposed to be learning here is where it is that we are so stuck in a rut, where we're so fearful of letting go of things that we've outgrown, that we know or we're no longer in alignment with, where we eliminate the possibility for spontaneity and magic to actually inspire us to make a move. This is what we're supposed to be learning right now. And the moon trining with Uranus in this way, first of all, is a spark. In our higher level intellect, something takes over. We have an aha moment. We have a revelation. We have an epiphany that we can't unknow, that we can't numb out, that we can't forget. This acts as a seed, as the motivation that we need in order to bust through the negative thinking, the restrictive thinking, the limited thinking that we're currently going through right now on why we can't make that change, why we can't bust out of this relationship, why we can't ask for a raise, why we can't align with a new purpose, a new mission. All the reasons of why we can't suddenly get solved in this moment of inspiration and motivation where we see the greater, grander picture take place and we get inspired and motivated and passionate enough within ourselves in order to tap into the spark, the energy of change. We always want to expect the unexpected with Uranian energy, and especially as we are about to dive into eclipse season, that is going to be the motto. So right now, with the moon trining Uranus, you best believe that we just cracked ourselves wide open. We let a little bit of light in. We let a little bit of a spark in, a little bit of an inspiration. We grasp a dream. We grasp a vision. We grasp a goal. And we are returning ourselves to a state of wholeness, to a state of excitement, to a state of grounded stability with this earth energy, that we know that we have to boss up. We know that we have to hype ourselves up, pep talk ourselves. We know we have to go out into our physical, materialistic realm and actually take action. And this Uranian energy is giving us this wild card, expect the unexpected, zap of inspiration that we need to bust out of the rut that we've been in and at least open ourselves up to the magic, to the possibilities, to the spontaneity of the universe.